You happy with this number of chairs?
I hope so.
Good.
Yes, that's fine. I think. Sit. Yeah.
Can you just make sure that we can see everybody? Totally.
Yeah. Um. Yeah.
Someone sitting here.
I think one panelist not came yet. Maybe no, you can sit here.
Can I move her?
She's not here. One panelist not here. She's not here. I think.
She's not here. You can take off the. You can take off the chair.
I think Olan is not here. Yeah, you can. Oh, yeah.
Let me remove one of the chairs.
One, only one.
How many more chairs do you need?
Yes.
That's it.
We keep it there. Keep it there. If Ete Golan comes, we have to arrange that chair there.
She's not here yet?
She's not here. Yeah.
So, well, she's not gonna be here when you move the
Yeah,
chairs
I'll be-
over.
Okay.
I'll be.
No?
Wait. No, I think no need. They can see there. Everyone.
Okay,
Yeah. Yep.
all right.
Wait. We have 2 minutes more.
Is this live right now?
Huh?
Do we have a link?
Yeah. There is a link on the website.
The UT one is working. Not,
There's a possibility.
which one? Yeah, YouTube one. The one is the YouTube.
Unless it runs.
Yeah, I told them at that time there are people like going. Team, all the technical teams. Yep, great. So we'll start in 1 minute, guys. All set?
Yeah, I'm set. I'm just trying to send the link to my
Okay,
followers.
please go ahead. Yeah, we're gonna live in 2 minutes.
Where?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back.
All right, everybody, we're live.
We are starting right now the another session. So please get inside. Please call your friends. Get inside. We have a very important session. Is not going on. So please come inside, everybody who is outside. Please take a chair, be comfortable. Welcome. We are starting session Youth Addressing the Root Causes of Conflicts and Building a Peaceful, Inclusive and Just Society at local and national levels. We have a couple of speakers today with us. We have Tiger Rai. He is the project coordinator for the USA chapter of the International Association of Youth and Students for Peace, IAYSP, a youth-led NGO dedicated to empowering young people to become global citizens through character education and peace initiative with the UN Sustainable Development Goals.
She came in.
Yeah,
Sorry.
she's coming. Yeah, please. There.
Sorry.
Yep. Please welcome Tiger Rai. We have Ahadu Gebru. He's a seasoned professional with over 15 years of experience working with national and international NGOs, founder and director of Sport for Change, an organization that leverages sports as a tool for social transformation. Welcome, Ahadu. We have Ete Golan here. She just arrived. Originally from Kyrgyzstan and currently based in Poland. She holds a bachelor and master degree in international relations from the University of Warsaw, where she is also pursuing PhD in political science. She has a expertise in international migration, modern slavery, and human trafficking. Thank you. We have Anil Wasip. He's an award-winning public sector leader. He's a co-founder and director of strategy at Bachelor Lorai, an international non-profit organization empowering Bangladeshi communities worldwide. Welcome. Welcome both Ete Golan and Anil. And we have Anastasia. She is a senior at Columbia University studying sustainable development. She holds BA in political humanities with a minor in international finance and trade from Sciences Po Paris. She currently works at the Center for Sustainable Development at Columbia and previously held a position as the Government Development and Outreach Coordinator at the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation. Welcome, Anastasia. Welcome, everybody. Let's have a round of applause for everyone here. We have a very strong and important panelist here. Yeah, so let's begin. So I have two basic questions to everyone. We'll start with Anastasia. So what are the different ways to mitigate or address the root causes of conflicts?
It's a really interesting question. It's quite open-ended.
Yeah.
I'd like to start with first speaking on how it's important to recenter peace in our education about violence. Personally, in the classes that I've taken about international relations and global diplomacy, often we're talking about sources that lead to violence and how to de-escalate violence, but we're not talking about peace building. Students aren't getting an education in what peace means. And it also seems like the values surrounding peace have kind of slipped away from our culture a little bit. When we see the ongoing conflicts in the world today, it seems like a lot of people, especially the mainstream media, have this ideology that we need to win these conflicts at any cost. And peace, people who advocate for peace are often called, hippies, not serious, and just are really shunned away from the mainstream conversations. And there are incorrect ways to advocate for peace, of course, but there are also very prominent and important ways that peace can be centered in international negotiations and conversations around ending conflict. And I think for youth especially, it's important for people to take their education in their own hands, make sure that the sources that they're consuming, the media that they're consuming about conflicts that are ongoing and just their political news is from different sources, and that they make an effort to reach out and hear from experts that may have different views from themselves. Yeah. Even if you don't agree with someone, that doesn't mean that you can't listen to their perspective. Yeah. So recentering peace in our own value system and on the global scale is important.
Yeah. I think recentering peace is the really important things because we see conflicts everywhere, but people try to overcome on that in a different ways. But they sometimes they are like uh, do it possibly, or sometimes they are not. Like so, yeah. Recentering peace is very important. Ahadu, I would like to have your thoughts on this. Yeah.
Thank you. I totally agree on the point she mentioned. But before we talk about the solutions, it's always good to see what are the root cause,
Yeah.
because that's always skipped, especially for the youth, for the next generation. Mostly, I want to be more informal than
Yeah.
formal speech, so I want to speak from my heart.
Yeah.
Mostly, I always say whenever we have this kind of conference, I say it seems like peace is only in the conference room, especially when you go out, it's a bit different. So let's really educate and capacitate our youth on. Let me put it in this way. I think everything starts with our mind. So we need to have a paradigm shift on the mindset, because that's where it really starts. All the conflicts, everything starts in the mind. And we need to show how our children, youth, and political people can really understand and drop their egos. Because I try to see the different conflicts going on in the world. Like in the Middle East, in Horn of Africa, in different areas. And when you put everything in the table, you don't find a big or valuable cause.
Yeah.
It's only like people maybe struggling for power, maybe it might be resource, but everything can be solved through dialogue. But as a youth, let's really work on the root cause, which is we really need to work on the mindset and try to with peace education and how we can solve conflicts, because it starts sometimes there are different youth-led organizations who works on peace, but they have a lot of issues with other organizations.
Yeah.
And they are advocates for peace. So we should work on that and see how we can be an agent for peace, but it starts from our house, with our families, with our siblings. So let's look into it, NATO, because we always see it in a bigger scale, but let's bring it to the smaller scale. Are we having peace with the planet? Are we having peace with ourselves? Are we having peace with the creature? So if we see it in that way, then we can really focus on the solutions. Thank you.
Yeah. I think dropping each one of us ego is very difficult, because we are like sometime want to put something or impose something on the people. Yeah, so you are very right. I mean, that's very important. And another thing is we think about global and a national level, but it's always to come back to small scale, start from ourselves, from our family, then into the community, and then it goes to national and global level. Yeah. So Tiger, what do you thought on this? Like how we can mitigate this, root causes of conflicts?
Yeah, thank you very much, Sachin, and thank you, Hadu and Anastasia. I really do agree with what's been shared already. Just a bit more about myself. First and foremost, my name is Tiger Rai, and I'm here as a representative of IAYSP, which is the International Association of Youth and Students for Peace. We have an amazing, beautiful, talented team, some of whom are in the room today. I hope you can meet and network with them soon after this. But yeah, we essentially focus on exactly what Ahadu was referring to: character education and service projects, giving youth the values and the opportunities to put those into practice to understand how they can contribute to building a better world. So when addressing the root cause of conflict, I think for me, the most pertinent thing to say is we need to be proactive rather than reactive in our approach. Quite often with the array of conflicts that are going on in the world today, it's very common to see demonstrations, right? People protesting, and rightfully so. I think it's most definitely important to stand up and condemn that which is wrong and violence that we're seeing across the world, right? But ultimately, we need to focus on what it is that we can change, to look ahead of the timeline, to look at the bigger picture, so we stop the conflicts of the future. And that's where it comes to education, as Ahadu referred to. I think we need to first ask, why is it that people go to war? I believe there are two main reasons. Number one, greed.
Yeah.
Right? Seeking to obtain something that is not yours. And number two is a grievance.
Mhm.
For example, wanting to reclaim something which previously was yours. Right? But ultimately, both of these are internal issues. These are things which must be addressed within ourselves, right?
Yeah.
If I am content with who I am and what I have,
Yeah.
then we'll not seek to take from others.
Right.
So it all starts within ourselves. We like to say this in YSP, we summarize it with our phrase, peace starts with me. Peace starts with you. So
Yeah.
peace starts with each and every one of us here in this room, understanding that we have a personal responsibility to contribute to building a better world and not simply demanding things of others, but knowing that we should focus on that which is within our own realm, our sphere of control, and understanding how we can empower others to do the same. So I don't want to just share concepts or ideas, but a little bit more about my experience and how I've seen this in my own life. So funnily enough, once upon a time, I was a very overweight, depressed, anxious teenager, and I didn't have peace within myself, right?
Yeah.
We talk about conflict. How about inner conflict? How many of us woke up this morning and hit snooze when our alarm went off, right? I think this is something we all experience
Yeah.
each and every day, right? We are
Yeah.
constantly at a war within ourselves to do the right thing.
Without snooze?
To hit the snooze button when you wake up in the morning, your alarm goes off.
I wake up like without.
Okay.
Good for you.
Lucky you.
Round of applause.
That's fantastic.
But,
Sorry to interrupt everybody. When speaker speaking, please don't interrupt in between. Once they finish, we have Q&A. So they, you can ask question or share comment between that. Yeah.
Sorry, just was to-
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
So essentially, how could I focus on loving my neighbor when I didn't
Yeah.
love myself?
Yeah.
I was facing such deep conflict, struggling with bad habits, addictions that were dragging me down. But once I addressed that, once I started to work on myself, I started going to the gym, working on my diet, reading self-help books, this kind of thing. This is when I elevated myself to the level where I could look into my community, and so I could contribute to building peace with those around me, right?
Yeah.
So this actually led to me becoming a police officer. I served with the London Metropolitan Police Force for 2 years. And in that role, I observed conflict every single day. I'm sure you can imagine.
Yeah.
Conflict in the streets, conflict in people's homes. Domestic violence was something which I dealt with multiple times a day. But I can tell you, I'm still, of course, far from perfect, a work in progress, but having gotten myself to a certain level, I could think about peace, not just beyond myself, but within the community around me.
Right. Yeah, proactive approach, looking at the bigger picture. We need to stop our greed and look for the small things. And there are a couple of personal responsibility that we have to play in the community. So that's how we have peace at our own level. Thank you for that amazing, points. I will come to Ethik Golan right now. So, peace in the home or community, it's not that easy. How, so let's say in family we have parents and all that, they try to mitigate our grievances or try to bring in the peace in us, but in larger level, how we can mitigate that? Would you like to share that thought?
Okay, actually, it's gonna just be in this crucial panel discussion about addressing the
Yeah.
root causes of conflicts. I came from the migrant population. I'm migrant myself coming from Kyrgyzstan, now living in Poland for 10 years, and now I'm an NGO leader in the Kyrgyz community in Poland. For me, the root cause of the conflicts are social exclusion. Okay. As someone deeply engaged with diaspora and migrant communities, I can say that the conflicts stem from mainly within the society. That's a social exclusion and lack of education that is linked to misinformation. So that's why, here is a solution that promoting social cohesion. I want to highlight the role of the inclusion in preventing the conflicts. So conflicts mainly, arise when communities feel marginalized or excluded from a society. So social exclusion can lead to frustration and ultimately to violence. So, there's an importance of promoting the social cohesion. Social cohesion is about bringing people together and creating a sense of belonging for everyone within a society, regardless of their background, ethnicity, gender, and status.
So one of the most powerful tool we have to foster such social cohesion is about inclusion. Inclusion everyone. I mean, especially marginalized groups, especially women migrants, because they face mainly double challenge for being migrants and for being a woman. So when people feel that they belong, they are less likely to be inclined to violence and conflict within a society. So diaspora and migrant communities, especially youth, have a unique ability and potential that they can bridge these divides between the communities and a society. So I have already witnessed in how youth migrants serve as a mediators, promoting peace within and between communities in Poland and European countries too. So because they bring, diverse perspective, encouraging intercultural dialogue and exchange, both in the host countries and home country.
Yeah, that's great point. Actually, social exclusion not only in here but everywhere we can see that. I mean, and that's how conflicts begin. Even when we feel excluded in our family, we started fighting with our, peoples around. So yeah, I mean that's, and the communities, like especially those who migrate from one place to another, they had to migrate because they had issues at that own place. So I mean that's very amazing point. Anil, I would like to come back to you, and would you like to share more about the context in Bangladesh, and somehow you're right now in Canada. So how do you find like these places and mitigating the conflict issues there?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And such wonderful perspectives from all the panelists with me. I know we talked about the role of epistemic communities. We talked about the self and the body, some of sort of like the internal causes like greed and grievance that lead to conflict. I want to focus more on the role of civil society, especially youth in civil society. As many of you might know, Bangladesh just went through a revolution, and I had nothing to do with it. I was in Toronto. But what the youth have shown through their acts in this revolution have left me inspired, not just as a Bangladeshi person, but just as a human being. And so I want to quickly talk about the Pact of the Future. Conflict mitigation must always involve civil society. And the Pact emphasizes this. Civil society organizations are essential in preventing and addressing conflicts by fostering grassroots action and creating inclusive institutions. To illustrate this, I want to share the story of a globally renowned personality and my friend, Shah Rafayat, who's the founder of this NGO called Footsteps. He's been in this building many times. During the Quota Reform protests, he, as a civil society leader, he played a pivotal role in letting the global community know about what's happening in Bangladesh.
Right.
And so this focuses on global awareness and grassroots engagement to stop and also manage conflict while it's unfolding on the ground. And this story is fresh. In July, when student-led protests erupted in Bangladesh, Shah took action. He used his social media to raise international awareness, cutting through biased national media to tell the truth. What his efforts did is it engaged policymakers like me and many others who had no context of what the situation was going on. So we could at least try and amplify these voices through newspaper articles or sharing it on our Facebook friend list or on our Instagram so that our following is aware of what's going on. And we've seen this in good effect with the war in Ukraine and the war on Palestine, right? But Shah did not stop with social media activism. On the ground, after the prime minister resigned and chaos ensued, he worked tirelessly with volunteers to restore order. He was involved as a civil society global nonprofit leader. I saw pictures of him cleaning streets, returning stolen goods, and safeguarding vulnerable populations at night. This grassroots mobilization was so crucial in stabilizing the country during a period when there is no law and order.
Right.
And he didn't need to do this. And that's what we must remember as civil society practitioners. Finally, I want to just emphasize that Shah's story shows us that civil society doesn't just prevent conflict. It addresses its root causes, whether through raising awareness, mobilizing communities, or providing aid. Civil society leaders like Shah played a crucial role in promoting peace and rebuilding trust
Yeah.
at a period when Bangladesh was shaking.
Right. I mean, yeah. Uh, Role of civil society and especially youths have a bigger role to work around these issues. Root causes are many, but solutions are also many, right? So we need to find out that. Thank you, Anil, bringing out the perspective on that way, and especially bringing the perspective on Bangladesh as well. Thank you. So let's we have one more question. So how we can create a space for youths to engage with policy making on to build peaceful, inclusive, and just society at local and national level? I'd like to start with you, Etegolan.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I want to also
Yeah.
again highlight about the role of migrants,
Yeah,
youth migrants. Yeah, engaging youth migrants in policy making is not about only including them to the process,
Yeah.
but also, I mean, it's recognizing the unique potential of these young migrants can bring to the development of policy making. Because of their unique, I mean, position as navigating two cultures, both their home and host countries. So this dual identity provides them with an invaluable perspective, I mean, on the complex of migration and integration and other issues too. So also they carry the cultural, social, and historical knowledge of their homeland, often, I mean, being aware of root causes of conflict, migration, economic and social instability. So they also, I mean, navigating life in their host countries, I mean, learning how to integrate while also maintaining their cultural identity abroad from their home countries. So this can be a solution that engaging young migrants as experts on migration, on other policies too.
Yeah.
So too often young people within diaspora and migration migrant communities are seen as passive recipients of policies. Rather than active, I mean, contributors to these policies.
Right.
But their lived experiences are unique and rich in many senses. And making them experts in different fields like business, entrepreneurship, social, I mean, issues, and it's not limited to it can be it's not limited to one country.
Right.
They can because they have already mature countries. So these young people have, I mean, first-hand knowledge and experience of the challenges involved in the migration process when it's navigating immigration systems, accessing to services and opportunities, or dealing with cultural barriers. So their insights into these issues are crucial for shaping, I mean, more effective and inclusive policies in the host countries.
Thank you. I mean, potential recognizing is the big thing where it's only stops at the urban space. It don't go to the marginalized section of the society. People want to bring in people from the urban space only. Maybe sometimes they don't give chance to come out people from the rural background, right? So recognizing potential at the rural marginalized section is very important. And you shared about the perspective on migrated peoples. That's very important. Yeah. So Tiger. So policy making, is the big thing. I mean, it starts with the upper way, like where we have someone like UN or some other NGOs who works around that. But policy making at the national or local level, how we can do that? I mean, what are the different perspective we can bring in, and youth can contribute in that?
Yeah, thank you, Sachin. I think for youth, one important thing I'd like to emphasize is humility.
Mm-hmm.
Like attending the Summit Action Days and surrounding side events in the last week or two, it's become very apparent that a lot of people around my age are demanding that their voices be heard, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think we need to admit that at our tender age, we may not have the experience nor the expertise to contribute on such a level. So I look to people like Greta Thunberg. Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. If you are not there at the position where you can be a government minister and actually implement such policies, go out there and see how it is that you can force change, how you can get the attention of politicians and bring issues into awareness. So yes, that's what I believe.
Yeah, humanities and people like Greta and all, like different people from different countries that can bring in the things that is a big space for them, and I think they create themselves a space which becomes institution in future. Anil, I would like to come back you, and so I think you share some rural background, right? You did you live in rural areas?
Actually, no, I lived in Dhaka City
Okay.
and then I moved to Canada 11 years ago.
Okay,
But
so-
I used to go to the village
Yeah.
in Borishal quite
Yeah.
often. And so, yeah.
So would like to know, like for them, if you want to make policy at the local level, what perspective we can bring from them?
Fantastic. So I have been in government for 10 years and I feel like I learn every single day from the people who are younger than me, the people who are far more experienced than me, and from the people who are around me. I think youth engagement is critical to building peaceful, inclusive, and just societies, and that is also specified in the Pact of the Future. Historically, youth involvement in Bangladesh's policymaking has been limited. Growing up, you could not dream to work for the government. And you, like a person who attends school and goes to school, their parents wouldn't dream of like them participating in politics, public policy, or matters of the public. But things are changing, and organizations like the IYC help bring together youth in platforms so that they can exchange knowledge with each other and then learn from each other. And this is huge. And while we think that technology might not be sort of playing a role in directly affecting public policy, it really is. Because the people watching are going to go back and think about the things we talked about today and
Right.
perhaps do something. So on that note, at Bachalorai, the organization I am a part of, we are focusing on developing youth policy capacity through policy writing, research, and public debate. We want to give them the tools to not just hear these conversations, but write about issues that matter to them. We have a publication called Impact Inc., where anyone can come and propose an article and then write with us. And we're also using new media, so like platforms like TikTok and Instagram,
Yeah.
to communicate the complex policy issues to youth. And lots of organizations, including IYC, is doing that.
Yeah.
And I want to sort of end my speech by also saying that traditional media is not dead. And that brings me to sort of this book over here. This book is called Art of Triumph, Graffiti of Bangladesh's New Dawn. I stood in line outside the Bangladesh Permanent Mission on a rainy day to get a copy of this book. This book has been received by President Biden this week and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Our chief advisor of Bangladesh, Professor Mohammad Yunus, who's leading the interim government, has brought this book, which contains graffiti of graffiti painted by students during the revolution that took place between July and August. I cannot open and show you this book because my partner and co-founder Aftab Ahmed, he requested me to take this back to Toronto, and I want to open it with him together.
Oh, great.
But I want to insist that we have to remember art when we are thinking about policy, because art transcends language, it transcends race, it transcends borders. And while we think about technology and the importance of social media to spread the good message, we must not forget that art can be a powerful tool in building youth capacity to address conflict, not just at the local level, but at the national level, and even as Yunus's actions show us at the global level.
Yeah.
And I want to end with that.
Great. Yeah, I mean, that's important approach to bring in.
That's a great job overall.
Oh.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Anastasia, so inclusive and peaceful society don't, make it in like a few days. It takes a long time. We come from a long way. We come from ancient age, then medieval age, and modern age. Then we are right now in postmodern era, right? So this time, how we can bring in this community together and have a inclusive and peaceful society around? Yeah?
Big questions.
Yeah.
I'd like to emphasize this idea of humbleness that came up. To me, this is so important, and especially for youth. I'm from Columbia University, as Sachin mentioned. We've had a really difficult period this last year. It's nothing compared to the difficulties going on in Gaza right now, but Columbia itself severely fractured in our community. And this was really saddening for me to see, because what we essentially saw was a perpetuation of the conflict on the ground in Gaza and Israel on our campus. And instead of coming together and being able to find some sort of common ground, no matter how disparate our own beliefs and our own cultures were, we all turned on each other in a sense. there were some incredible organizers of the encampment, and there were people who were genuinely trying to have positive and informative conversations, but there was others on both sides who were just shutting people down in their face and really unable to have productive conversations with each other. And this is just another form of violence. When you have friends that you can no longer even talk to or be in the same room as, because you believe that your opinions are so drastically different from each other, that's really sad. And that gets us absolutely nowhere. And I believe this is what perpetuators of conflict want. They want us to be incapable of having conversations with each other so that we actually can't come to any solution and they can go on doing what they're doing. So with this idea of humbleness, even though we may have different national origins, different beliefs that we've developed throughout our lives that may be very entrenched in our identities, we also have to have a level of humbleness that we may not know the whole story. And in most cases, we probably don't know the whole story, even if it's a conflict that directly impacts you in a sense. And having an open mind, once again, being able to talk to people who are different from you and read and listen to media that's counter to your own ideas is so important, because, I mean, this is true for youth. It's also true for adults in policymaking. No one has the full story. Conflicts are so complicated. And even in regions like in the DRC and different places in Africa and the Middle East, there are some conflicts that are so ongoing and regional that it seems like the causes are similar, but yes, there may be overarching themes to conflict, but also in reality, every conflict is different and every conflict has really specific details that if you don't study that specific issue, you may completely overlook. So when we make generalizing statements about what will lead to peace and what will end conflict globally or in a region, usually that's far from accurate because we haven't studied the details of conflict. There's also a professor that I've had at Columbia who studies how international organizations go into conflict zones and how they try to mediate peace on the ground. And what she's learned is that oftentimes these organizations come with these top-down approaches of, I'm a PhD student, I've learned that this is how we mediate conflict and you need to talk to this person and this, and that doesn't work because they don't realize that, for example, she was working in the DRC and she saw how, yes, there's this larger conflict happening in the country, but in this small village, that conflict is being perpetuated because of a dispute between the farmers and the cattle ranchers. And their organizations completely overlooked this specific piece of the conflict because they were looking at what the government of the DRC is doing. So in that specific region, conflict could have been mediated if she understood, if the organization understood what was happening within that village, within that community. And I think that this ties into all of the conflicts that we're experiencing globally, that there's always issues on the ground that we can't overlook while we're trying to understand the geopolitical dimensions of conflict.
Exactly. I mean, humbleness and having humbleness and not generalizing the common thing is very important to have, peace building into the community and society. Ahadu, so I'd like to come back to you. And so policy making, it's a difficult, especially when it comes to marginalized and indigenous communities. People make policies big draft, right? Like big draft and everything. But when it comes to implementation, it's very difficult to do on the ground because it don't perpetuate at the last mile of the peoples. So how we can make these policies, and especially youth from this community, so youth from indigenous, marginalized, and all the community which is underserved, how we can bring in them, and they become a part of this policy making.
This is very important question, as we are also on the summit of the future and the pact is already approved. But I always try to bring it more closer to ourselves. You pose some questions also, I agree totally with the points. But it's always good to recheck and ask ourselves, do we really want peace? If we know that answer, then because the youth are expecting others to create the space, the government, the civil society, private sector. But as a youth, you have the space. You can create your own space. You can create your own influences, especially, as you said, as a marginalized, there are always barriers all over the world. It's only the levels is different. There are barriers when you talk to indigenous group in Canada, when you talk to in the US or any else, but maybe the barriers might be different in Africa or in other countries. But as a youth, you should create your own space and show that you can really change the world as a change agent. Let me tell you, I fly 18 hours to be here just to show solidarity with the world.
Yeah.
So they're thinking, they think that we can think either locally and act globally, or vice versa. We can think globally and act locally. So both should work for the youth. And as an agent of peace, we can really have a peace with ourselves, and that peace can be shared.
Right.
So let's work towards that. For example, in my country, Ethiopia, there is a conflict going on in Horn Africa, elsewhere. And we have a ministry of peace, for example, but peace will not come because you have only a ministry of peace or certain groups.
Mhm.
So we really need to see how the youth, with a global citizen thinking, with intergenerational thinking, can change this, because we need to also not to be aggressive. Mostly what I see with the youth, they are like, we're here for our voice, everything, but this perspective and received by the political leaders or decision makers as aggressiveness. So the youth should be wise enough to see and come up with a systematic mechanism to show and to impact and to change. Then when you have something good on the table, you will be accepted, and you will be also part of the negotiation and decision making. So we also have 3 levels where we try to impact: policy level, organization level, and individual maker. With that, we're pushing an office, for example, here, Canada and Mexico, because the next World Cup is coming. So we try to be here before it comes.
Yeah.
So my message for all us, I think it will be good if everybody can stand up for 1 minute and to say, like, I have a peace, and that I will share a peace to everyone. So that's a message. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Systematic mechanism we need to bring on, and maybe that can be bring on when you have people from not only one section, from each and every section of the society. So I would like to come back to you, delegates. Please bring out questions. We'll have 9 minutes to have Q&A, 2 questions from here and 2 questions from online audience. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so mine is not.
One liner question, please. Short. Yeah.
Okay, so mine is not necessarily a question, but it's just to touch points on some of the things that have been said here. My name is Mahmoud Ali. I'm from Sudan. I'm representing African United Nations Youth Delegate Program, specifically Sudanese youth. So I just want to, because this is a very dear topic to me, because there is a war that is happening right now in Sudan, and unfortunately there's not enough media coverage for that war. There's a report that said this is the forgotten war because no one is talking about it. So this is, I just want to go back a bit before the war happened. Sudanese young people have led the revolution in the country for many months, and they have overthrown a 30-year oppressive regime, and they went through a transitional period. So I just wanted to highlight something that you just said. At the time, young people were very excited. They were enthusiastic. They wanted the change. And I'm someone who marched in the streets, who were chased down by the police, who were shot at. I have friends who died. So at the time, I think young people just wanted to see change. But then there was no long-term vision of how we're going to go and how we're going to move on beyond that point.
Yeah.
So this is, I think, something important, the education part. Because once the regime has been overthrown, there's a period of, okay, what's going to happen next and how can young people participate? So there was something called Neighborhood Resistance Committee, which is basically groups of young people forming in their neighborhoods. And they were doing a lot of social work for their communities, but also trying to engage on more of a national level and more on how can we be part of the policy making. But the education part was definitely missing. And then there was no specific support in how we can actually be part of the conversation. How can we actually, because we don't have the experience. We do have the passion to participate, but there's no actual knowledge or experience on how to do that. And that's something that's definitely been missing, but it's also been overlooked by older generation. And this is something that we need to think about. How can we link these different generations and how we can pass down the experience?
Yeah.
I don't want to make it lengthy. There's a lot of things to talk about, but yeah, I think that's just
Please.
Can I add something?
Yeah, please.
Sorry, but thank you so much for sharing that. I know that myself, I need to learn so much more about the conflict in Sudan, so I will definitely do that. But we have so many people here with such wealths of experience. Could we have questions, please, instead of comments?
Yeah.
So people could actually
you want
answer.
to, please go ahead.
So, my name is Jack. I'm from DRC. We apologize because I don't speak very English. Alors, I think we are not in
Please
English.
come on the question, please, first. Yeah.
We are not in English in a national conference. We are in a international conference of youth. There is a big community, French community, who in online now. My question is like this. I will speak in French. Nous ne pouvons pas parler de la paix sans parler de la République démocratique du Congo. Alors, dans notre pays, le gouvernement met en place plusieurs mécanismes, notamment avec le ministère de la Jeunesse et des Veilles Patriotiques, la présidence de la République. Nous avons aujourd'hui le PDDRSS, qui est le programme gouvernemental dédié pour la réinsertion et le désarmement des jeunes. Aujourd'hui, ceux qui font la pluie et le beau temps dans les groupes armés, ce sont les jeunes. It's youth.
Please come on the questions. We have very less time. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
My question. It's youth today. Les jeunes sont pris dans les groupes armés. L'État fait sa part, la communauté internationale fait sa part. Nous sommes dans ces assises aujourd'hui. Qu'est-ce que vous pouviez nous faire comme recommandation? Des concrete decisions we can take for the youth in war. Qu'est-ce que nous pouvons retenir aujourd'hui, ramener dans notre pays pour que nous puissions implémenter en faveur de jeunes qui sont pris dans les groupes armés? Là, c'est la première question. Et ma deuxième recommandation, je sais que ces assises sont suivies au niveau international. J'aimerais ceci. Il y a des organes dans notre pays, par exemple, qui se battent en faveur de faciliter le désarmement et la réinsertion des jeunes. Que ce programme puisse plaider également en faveur d'un accompagnement pour ces organes. J'ai dit et je vous remercie.
Okay.
Thank you.
Actually, we are running out of time. We have an online question there. If you have the Department of Peace or the Ministry of Peace, and it doesn't mean having peace, and they don't work to put the peace, what should be the role of the young people in this country? If anyone wants to share on this, your thoughts? Like, what should be role of young people in this
If we
country?
have institutions,
Institutions,
but
yeah.
the institutions aren't working.
Yeah. Ahadu,
Yeah,
please go ahead.
thank you. It's always, as I said, we should do what we can.
Yeah.
We should contribute as we can. So for us, we should really lobby and try to see where is the gateway in the tunnel. Sometimes it seems like it's blocked. The political people will not let you on, but there is always a way.
Yeah.
So as a young people, I advise to see where is the small gateway to reach into the policymaker, decision maker, and try to contribute. If they don't listen to you, just continue doing the good work, and it will pay later. That's the message.
Yeah. Do we have online questions there? One second, please.
Build on it.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to try to build on this answer, but also try to address some of the other issues raised in the room very quickly. Bangladesh has gone through a similar revolution, and there were WhatsApp groups called Resistance United, where civil society actually stepped up to do the job of government and law enforcement. And so firstly, I want to just applaud you for all the work you did during the revolution. It's not easy as a woman to go on the streets of Sudan and stand up for something. And I think everybody in this room should recognize that. Secondly, I want to say, when we want to involve people in involve youth voices, we must create actual platforms for those voices to be shared.
Yeah.
So one of the things that many countries have done is that they have let youth create shadow cabinets, where the youth actually shadow different ministers who are responsible for portfolios. They're called youth cabinets or youth parliaments. And at least there's a structured way where the message of the youth could be shared. I think that's another tangible way that we could actually include youth in policy making at the grassroots,
Yeah.
so that we can bridge the gap between academia and people who are actually doing the work.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Anil, for bringing that perspective. We have one more online question there. Can cultural values help in reducing conflict? Ategolan, would you like to share on this? Can cultural values helps in reducing conflicts?
Cultural values, yeah. Okay, I go back to the social
Yeah.
exclusion, exclusion that
Right.
which leads to the conflict. So that's why here is an important to promote the social
Right.
connection between which bringing together different cultures into one table.
Speak little louder. Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay, sorry. So there's an important of bringing different cultures into one table and promote the diversity and inclusion of these different and diverse communities in a society. For example, in Poland, we're promoting inclusion and integration of women migrants into the local society, which also have a huge impact on preventing violence, discrimination, and conflict.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody here, Tiger, Ehadu, Anil, Etegolan, and Anastasia, and everyone here. It was great, indeed a great session with all of you, and we'll continue next session. Thank you so much once again. Thank you. Yeah. We'll have a picture together. Really? Great. Tiger, come. Yeah.
Sorry.
We'll share with you.
It's a lunch break.
Lunch break session, please be back at 2 p.m. Go to lunch.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was great.
Oh, one more, guys, one more.
Okay. Yeah, I think